Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Bordeaux, and this week we have Sam Kabert, aka SwagSam. He's a believer in the power of a brand. Sam has launched several successful businesses and brands and was recognized in 2019 as one of the Silicon Valley Business Journal's 40 under 40 most successful and influential professionals. We welcome you to the show, Sam Kabert.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. It's like 7 o'clock here. I don't know if it's like 4 there or.
Yeah, Cali life.
That's awesome. Okay, first question I usually ask everybody, but before I do that, I usually take the glasses off. I'm blind, and everyone knows that. So I don't like the glare on the videos. First question is, what lit the fire for you? What happened that inside of you made you want to become an entrepreneur?
That's a great question, Jim. You know, I grew up with entrepreneurial parents and even grandparents, I would say. So it's kind of in my blood. But it's interesting because my brother is an elementary school teacher and I have one sibling. So we definitely went different paths. So it's not like it was totally ingrained on me. But yeah, all my life, you know, saw my parents deal with the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride that is the entrepreneurial lifestyle, right? And really in college, I met a friend and he started talking about how he wants to be an entrepreneur. And even with parents that were business owners, at the age of 18, 19, I'm not sure that I actually was familiar with the phrase entrepreneur, believe it or not, which is kind of funny looking back at it. But he really talked about a lot of entrepreneurial type things, and it kind of got ingrained in my mind. And I would, I kind of happened organically. I just started getting a lot of business ideas in college, and I only took action on one, but I started thinking that way. So that's really what lit the fire.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome when you just, I mean, something happens inside and you just know, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get that feeling
Totally.
like, you know, this is my path. This is what I want to do. This is who basically I am.
Are you a fan of, are you a fan of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
he talks about like almost being from a sixth sense and like to not ignore it, embrace it. And yeah, that book is a game changer for any entrepreneur, any person really.
It is. It is. I think one of the most read, I mean, that I have encountered with other entrepreneurs, like Rich Dad Poor Dad's another one, but but Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, that's it. That's the
Love
secret sauce right there.
Totally. And it's interesting because I've gotten down the spiritual path in this past year and really started to see how much aligns with Napoleon Hill's principles and spiritual path. It's really interesting, actually.
So, and when you say spiritual path, what do you mean by that?
Well, that's not exactly what you probably want to talk about on your podcast.
No, because I actually, honestly, I saw the same things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some of the biblical references and stuff like that, which is historical and whatever, but it talks about, you know, whatever you pray for, believing you'll receive. And so
totally.
the element of belief and the element of faith and the element of, you know, well, your faith has made you well and all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they're talking about.
Totally. Like law of attraction, manifestation, all that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. The think on these things also, I think it's in Philippians where it talks about, you know, everything good, everything, all that type of stuff. You know, think on these things, and then we talk about higher vibration, and we're talking about thinking on the same higher things. So it's like it's so congruent with that type of a thing. I don't mind getting into that. It's fine with me. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's amazing how it goes into a spiritual aspect, also goes into a scientific aspect. It seems like everything just points to that's the way it is.
Yeah, definitely. I have a new podcast. It's probably the eighth I've produced, my personal fourth, that I launched in August of this year, I believe. It's called Soulseeker. And I like to say it's about soul life balance rather than work life balance, because I believe the work life balance model is broken and that work is just a component of life. And to truly heal as humans, we need to put more focus on our soul, whether it be through meditation or what it can be running and just working out. But actually, this whole the conditioning and programming of society of 9 to 5 and the scare tactics and everything, all of that is just like a bunch of BS.
Wow, I totally feel you on this. Holy cow. I love
right
it.
So for entrepreneurs, it's amazing. Right now we're in an amazing time in existence where, and not, I don't want to say anyone can be an entrepreneur, but if you even don't want to work for quote unquote the man and you just want to be an Uber driver and do DoorDash and maybe sell some stuff on Amazon or eBay on the side, whatever it is, you can find a way to make money and live the life you want to live these days that you never could before. So it's an amazing time for it shouldn't even be entrepreneurs. A lot of people are saying
great time for humans.
Yeah, put it that way.
It is because I love your thing about of going after what your soul is seeking more than, because there's so much more to life than 9 to 5 or 7 to 3:30, which is what I do right now. There's so much more out there. There's traveling, there's spiritual journeys, there's things that you want to go see and experience and stuff out there. And you know what? Half the time we don't do it because we're stuck in a job. We can't go anywhere because the job won't give us the time off. We can't do this or that. And we seem so pressured and stressed and everything is coming at us all the time. And we don't feed our soul.
Yeah, it's sad, really, for sure.
I love it. I love what you do right now. So
appreciate it. Yeah.
So you just came up with a new podcast. You said you produced 4 before?
Yeah, Soulseeker I launched in August, and then since then I've launched a fifth called Clone Yourself, which is about teaching entrepreneurs how to scale their business by working with virtual assistants. So yeah, that's a more tactical podcast for sure.
I like that premise too, because I experienced that because I work 40 hours a week. I'm doing videos every single night. I'm doing micro videos. I'm doing all these other things. And it's of course you got to do that to get your content out there. But yet, there are people out there that will, work for a little cheaper actually. And virtual assistant, because I have been in contact with somebody that, might be my virtual assistant. So I hear you. It's nice. I'm right on the same page right now.
I love it. Good. You got to be. Love it.
Yeah. So, and actually this lady approached me. So, I'm going to see what she does in the next week, and then we'll see how we proceed from there. So it'll help out a lot, actually.
Definitely will.
But in your story so far, I think you're an amazing person so far from what I see. I love the heart. I love the soul. I can see that you really mean what you say. So I like that. What were the struggles or some of the roadblocks that you experienced in your journey so far? Or maybe what you even seen with your parents too, What
was the second part?
And maybe even what you've seen with your parents as well.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm 31. I started in business about 23. I think I launched my first business, and there's been a lot of different struggles and highs and lows. But right now, I'm reinventing myself, and I'm currently going through a new struggle. And right now, so I'll just talk about that one.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, so I have a company called Swagworks. We do swag, so think branded merch, and I've been doing that since 2011, so about 9 years, pretty soon. So anyways, that business runs itself. I work less than 4 hours a day, and my sales go up every year, so it really is a nice thing. But at the same time, now I love doing content. Like I mentioned earlier, I've produced tongue toaster. I've produced 9 podcasts. I wrote 3 books in a year. I have 2 shows on YouTube two different channels. So I do a lot of content, and I really love doing content, but I don't get paid for it. Like all of that was just to build my personal brand, and it funnels to the swag business. So it's worked nicely. But now I'm in a transition where I'm launching a new business and starting to work on actually directly monetizing my content. So that's kind of the new struggle right now, because it's a totally different ball game than what I've done previously, kind of doing the consulting and coaching type route and online courses and things like that. So
that's good. That's good. But it's scary in a way, because, it's just outside your comfort zone just a little bit, just outside of your box. So, that can be a little scary. That can be, I think you're going to do fine with it personally, because I think that you've seen enough to, you know what I'm saying? You think you've seen enough with your parents and your upbringing, your internal drive. I think you're going to be good with it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like you start to second guess yourself. You have the imposter syndrome. And then even with me now, it's kind of like, well, why am I doing this? I'm already really comfortable, which is a bad word, right? But I'm comfortable. Yeah. I'm comfortable with my living and my lifestyle. Like, why am I putting myself through this whole new roller coaster? Because it's just, it's so uncomfortable, but it's good. It's a good challenge. I joined a mastermind recently. I hired a business coach in the content creation, marketing type world. So I'm getting the support. I think it's very important. This is really the best piece of advice for your listeners. When you are going through the struggle, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with most, right? So I think it's very mindful to put the right team together, whether that means internally team or it just means your support system or working with a coach. I mean, when I hired my first business coach in maybe 2015 or 16, that was game changing for my business. It just helped me so much. And I might have only worked with him 4 or 5 months, and it was expensive, but I look back at it and it was like, that was an amazing investment.
Yeah, that's the launch. I have a coach right now, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think it's very important.
They push you a little, but
that's what you need.
Exactly. I had likened it, because I live in Michigan, so this may not be a good reference for you, but I liken it to like a father going out to the car after a huge snowstorm. We get a lot of snow over here, and then the kids follow in the footsteps to get to the car.
Well, hey, I can relate to Michigan and coaches, because I'm a 49ers fan, so I'm a huge Jim Harbaugh fan. So there you go.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
But your coach is kind of like the father going through the snow, and now all you have to do is follow in the footsteps.
That's a good point. Instead of having
to trudge it through yourself. Try to make your own path, especially when you don't know which way exactly you should go. They point you in the direction, give you the next step, and then you just do the next step. It's so awesome. I'm blown away by it right now.
That's a great analogy. I love that. How long have you been working with your coach?
4 weeks. That's it.
Oh, nice. Do you guys have a certain route that you're focusing on specifically?
Well, right now we were just doing micro videos, because she's really, really good at that. She also was helping me to get different people on the show, and it's like exploded. I had like 4 or 5 people that wanted to be on, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I would release 1 a week. Now my schedule's almost full. I have every night I'm doing one of these. And Saturday was 3 this Saturday that I did.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff.
So it's great. It's exploding, and it's something that, I'm one that thinks that the money will come when you help enough people. That's where my heart is. So it's like I'm not real worried about that part of it right now, but I would like to get there, but it's just it's not the most pressing issue at this point.
Nice. I think that's a good way to start, for sure.
So you've been through, you have coaching, you have virtual assistants. Who else do you have on your team? Do you have other people on your team, or?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I'll go over that just briefly, but a few years ago, probably like 3 years ago, I had a right-hand man who was crushing it, full-time employee, and that was around the time I first got into content marketing. So I was doing less and less and less work, and training him and that type of stuff. And then I was looking at scaling my business, so I brought in another employee underneath him, and we had her for a few months, and unfortunately it didn't work out, and I had to let her go, which was very difficult. And then he was actually on paternity leave, and then he came back like right after I let her go, and he was there for like another 2 weeks maybe, and then gave his 2 weeks notice.
Wow.
So now I'm just like, what the hell? Because I had, I thought I had it all figured out, and, I had the little setback with her, but then I had a major setback with him. And then I remember, like, I said to myself, okay, I got a 6-pack of beer and a large pizza, like this is what we do, right? As entrepreneurs, we figure it out. And I said, I'm not going to bed until I figure it out. So I remember, pizza and beer, and a lot of phone calls with people I respect in my industry. And ultimately, a friend introduced me to an agency in the swag promotional products industry that does virtual assistants. So basically, you hire out their company, and they have their own employees that will work as VAs for your business, specific to my industry. Yeah, and I already had experience in working with VAs for all the podcast videos and books and things like that I was doing. And, I read the book 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I was listening to that today, actually.
That's an amazing book. So anyways, I was I always wanted to work with VAs, and through hiring that firm, I really learned how to work with VAs even more, because I got to see their process. And fast forward a few years later, they're my team, for virtual assistants, for my actual business. They run my business, and it's I also have 10 other VAs that help me with all my content marketing efforts, and this is all for the price of less than one full-time employee. So I call it the VA business model.
Yeah, it is. I have. Yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. That is, it's really, really cheap, but really good, really effective. So that's amazing too. That there is that help out there, and that people can get a lot of things done and duplicate themselves, like you said. That's amazing stuff.
Yeah, another thing I say too is, like, because a lot of people think of virtual assistants and they think cheap labor, right? But it's like totally okay to pay $30 an hour, $50 an hour. I mean, VAs can be over $100 an hour. Most of my VAs are probably about $25 an hour, so it's not like it's like cheap labor for like $4 an hour or anything like that. But what I talk about is, as a small business owner, you have your highs and your lows. Sometimes not emotionally. I'm talking like sales wise. So sometimes you have more sales, which means you have more work for your employees to do, and other times you have less. And then your employees start to become a jack of all trade, because now all of a sudden you need to find work for them to do to justify their salary. Whereas with virtual assistants, you're not committed to a certain amount of hours per day, per week, per month, per year, or anything like that. They understand. The virtual assistants are basically entrepreneurs. They get to work with who they want to work with, when they want to work, and do the type of work they want to do. So they totally get it. And it's just a really nice mix. So yeah, I have an ROI calculator on our website where you could just plug in like how much you value your time at and how long it would take you to do a task or project. And then you put your VA's hourly rate there, and then how long it would take them. And it's amazing if you look at that calculator. It's just like eye-opening to look at some of the type of tasks that you're doing yourself and be like, wow, I shouldn't be doing this. If I just paid a VA, even if it's $30 an hour, look at how much time I'm getting back and how much dollars I'm actually saving. So it's pretty cool.
That is interesting, because you spoke of the imposter syndrome before. And so with that in mind, how do you value your own time? How do you value your own worth? If you're starting out, I'm saying.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you have a good handle on, maybe what you're worth per hour. But for somebody who's just starting out, how do you calculate that, or is there such a thing?
Well, I go by $100 per hour for any business owner.
Okay.
That was something my business coach taught me, and he was like, "Yeah, at minimum, a business owner should look at their time as $100 per hour." So the example I like to use is graphic design because I connected with a lot of content creators. I'm a content creator, and content creators need virtual assistants. And a lot of content creators love Canva. And Canva is an amazing online tool that helps non graphic designers become designers. I'll say that again. Canva is an online tool that helps non graphic designers do graphic design. Well, if that's the case, then why are we spending the time to do this ourselves? And if you look at just one tiny project, whatever it is doing graphic design, just easy numbers say it takes you 60 minutes. Your time's worth $100 per hour. That's $100 of your time, right? If you were to hire a graphic design virtual assistant for $30 an hour, which is a good VA, a good graphic designer, they're going to be able to do it in half the time as you, most likely, because they are a specialist, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they should be able to do it more efficiently. So at $30 an hour, half hour worth of time, it's $15. All of a sudden now you're getting an hour back of your time, and you're saving $85 as well. You're only spending 15. Now, if you were to expand on that and really scale up those numbers, you could really see how much time you're saving. So that's kind of like the way I look at the ROI of a virtual assistant.
I absolutely love that explanation. That was amazing. That was really, really helpful. I think that people can take that now and truly wrap their head around it, whereas before maybe they just had no idea. I also
Right.
wanted to say on the virtual assistant point where you're saying the graphic designer, well, the graphic designer obviously is going to design it better than you could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing too is like maybe you have a graphic design background, right? So you are a good graphic designer, or maybe you don't have a good background, but you're just great at it, right? So you're like, oh, I want to do it myself. Well, unless you're actually selling graphic design, like that's what the core of your business is, there's no reason for you to be doing that because you could be spending that time doing something that is more revenue generating work. And there's really a few reasons why people would want to work with virtual assistants. It's going to be first to either free up your time to spend your time with your loved ones and maybe travel, do things like that. Or the second reason is to focus on sales, right? There's really only two reasons. So it just doesn't make sense, in other words, to do it yourself, even if you are a great graphic designer, if it doesn't actually move the needle in terms of sales. It's definitely not saving your time to spend with family, right? But yeah, anyways.
Absolutely. I mean, that is such good advice. People, new people out there, this guy really knows what he's talking about. That's amazing advice. $100 an hour for a business owner, and then just think about that from the perspective of how much you're actually saving by farming things out and getting a virtual assistant to help you or a team, because
Right.
you can
Yep.
get so much more done too.
Yeah, like you, Jim, like you can focus on these podcasts. You don't have to be editing the podcast. You don't have to be doing the graphic design. Like there's so many different things. Like your secret sauce, what matters to you is the actual recording. That's what you need to be doing. That's the way I look at it. Like, what am I doing that requires my specific skill set? If it doesn't require my skill set, then let me figure out a way I can bring on a team member to get this done so I can focus on my skill set that needs that requires me, and I can double down on that, right? So yeah,
That's
I have
amazing.
too much free time these days trying to
But that's
figure
so
what to do.
good.
That's why I'm so passionate about helping others, because it's just like, to me, I think the system is such It's just, it sucks. And I feel like I've cracked the code. So it's kind of my way of giving back. And I know I can't like bring down the system, like to sound like a little conspiracy-ish or whatever you want to say. But at the same time, it's just like, okay, well, how can I help others? Because it's almost like you feel guilty sometimes. And it's like, it's not that hard. And I mean, I'm not living like, you know, the millionaire lifestyle and all crazy baller, but I have a very, very great lifestyle that I love. I'm 60 seconds away from the ocean, you know, and Sanders, like it's not cheap to live here, you know, that, but I'm not like balling out by any means, but like I have a great lifestyle that suits, that many people would just like love to have. Right. And it's not that hard for us to have this lifestyle. We just need to get after it a little bit more, you know, if that helps.
Oh, yeah. It does. And I think that you've hit on something as well. I see people have such high anxiety and stress and heart attacks early and all these things because of the system and the way it's designed at this point. Send you to school for like 13 years and like it's lunch, recess, another recess. It looks like a job.
Right.
You know, it's training. I mean, basically you're training to be a worker bee. Because we're breaking out and doing something different, a lot of our own family or our friends look at us funny and, oh, you're lazy. I've actually been told that at work. Oh, you're lazy, because I don't want to work overtime because the numbers don't make any sense. So I could be spending so much more time on doing what I'm doing rather than working overtime at a job that doesn't pay me very well.
Right. No, exactly.
So I had people at work call me lazy, even though I work like 14, 15 hours a day.
Wow. Yeah, that's for sure not lazy. Let's be real, right?
Yeah. But you work a full-time job, get up early in the morning, stay late at night, you know, whatever. You know how the hustle is when you first start, you know?
Yeah.
First start, you're wearing all the hats. But I'm going your route. Let me tell you, I'm going to be a disciple here.
Love it. Love it, Jim. Love it. Good stuff.
But, you know, I want you to talk a little bit maybe more about what you got coming out and how people could get those things and work with you, that type of thing.
Right. Thanks. I appreciate that. So my most recent podcast is called Clone Yourself, and that's my new business essentially. The podcast it teaches entrepreneurs how to scale their business by working with virtual assistants. So that's a little bit what we've been talking about. And yeah, it's really a step-by-step guide. It's a sequential podcast. The first 15 episodes or so are out, and they really hold your hand and get you up and running in a very logical way to start working with VAs. And then from there, that kind of funnels to an online course I have, which it gives you a little bit more information and packages it all together. And then the other thing I'm doing is consulting and coaching, where it's like, okay, you really want to get this done and you just feel overwhelmed, that type of stuff. And you really want the true hand holding where I'm going to be guiding you every step of the way. So that's kind of like the path to monetization or so for all of the content I'm doing. I'm looking at other projects as well, maybe a done for you podcast type solution where it's kind of like, okay, well, it's someone that wants to get into content marketing but isn't really sure where to start, how to start. They could use virtual assistants and use my work to figure it out for themselves, but they rather pay a premium, and all they have to do is show up, record the podcast, and we do everything from the show notes, the graphic design for each episode, upload it to all the different directories, post it on your website, you name it, social media. And basically behind the scenes, I'm not doing it. It's my VA team, because that's what they do for my business. So it's like, on one hand, I can either give you the tools for you to do it yourself or have this package. So I don't know. I'm just exploring different things, and you caught me at a building phase. So
and that's okay, because you know what? I'd love to have you back when this is not in the building phase. I would like that, actually.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Because I think that Well, I'm going to subscribe. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. So I need to learn more about VAs. I'm just starting to get into it, so I want to learn a little more myself. I mean, it's just being totally transparent.
Yeah,
I tell
definitely.
everybody everything that's going on, you know.
Oh, for sure.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Appreciate
What
it.
you you talked about a little bit of the imposter syndrome. Wanted to go back to that just real briefly and ask you, how did you overcome that? I mean, obviously you do great with your podcast. Your voice is amazing. I mean, the whole you have it all down. you know, so it's like, how did you overcome that thing where who's going to listen to me and why am I even doing this and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things with the imposter syndrome where you need to take some time off. You need to just kind of reset, and you need to do those small confidence builders. So, whatever it is that gives you confidence, kind of go back to that. And if you're being intimidated by things that are making you question yourself, it's a good time to kind of step away from that for a little bit so that you can focus on building your confidence back up and then try it again. And I'm constantly on a roller coaster of this. It's like I joke that I'm consistently inconsistent. So it would be nice where I could say I have overcome the imposter syndrome, but it's like damn, we meet again. You know what I mean? So
Your
yeah.
arch nemesis or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
don't really struggle with that. I've had a little tape recorder in my hand since I was a kid. I mean, this is what I've always wanted to do. Is everyone says I talk too much, so I just decided to use that positively.
Yeah, I mean, I love podcasting. It's not so much like a fear of like that or anything. It's just like it's really more about like it's the conditioning and programming of society. I keep getting I keep building new stuff, new brands, new goals, and all this. And then every time I achieve a goal, it's like, okay, why am I still unhappy? Right? Well, because you're doing what you're conditioned to do, and you're not really doing what you truly want to do. So it's kind of like it's kind of deeper. It's yeah, I don't know. That's why I have the Soulseeker podcast to kind of keep my sanity.
That's a good thing, though. I think you
Yeah.
should take some time. Now, I talk about winning the day just every single day and taking it as, there's no yesterday because yesterday's in the past and tomorrow really isn't promised to us. So I
Right.
look at it like, what can I do this day? How do I treat everyone better? How do I, you know, um, read a good book? Like I said, I've read Tim Ferriss's book before. I've listened to it. I actually like the audio version better.
Mm.
But I was listening to it again today. Actually, I was listening to it again today just to get myself back into that mindset. You know what I mean?
Synchronicity. Yeah, yeah. It's all about the mindset for sure.
Yeah. So it's like every day, just do little things, not
Mhm.
huge things, but little things to create your lifestyle. And as you go, they'll become habits. And once they become habits, you just don't even think about doing them anymore. You just do, and that becomes you.
I love that. Yeah, no, totally, 100%.
Yeah, it is. This is cool because I when I do this show, I don't meet the people before I do it. I just they come on and we're here and we talk a little bit, and then you find somebody that you think, oh my god, that guy's really cool. There's we think the same things. We're not in the same state. We never met before, but yet we're talking about the same books. We're talking about the same ideas and the same phrases that come up. And it's so cool to talk to like-minded people. It just
Totally.
is.
Yeah, I agree. I agree,
So
Jim.
that's
Good to be
why
connected.
I do this. It's because every time I'm just blown away by the people that I talk to, and it lifts me up, to be honest about it. Maybe this is therapy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Soulseeker. I like to say I do that podcast as much for myself as I do to raise our collective consciousness and help others. You know, like for me, every time I have a deep conversation with someone on that podcast about their journey and like the meaning of life, it's like, it's like
Yeah,
therapy, like you
exactly.
said. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
It's
So
so good.
have you ever read Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now?
Yeah, I've listened to most of it, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something where I kind of look at it like that as well. It's like he talks about a tipping point,
Mm.
and I'm thinking that, like you said, you can't bring the system down, but if we help enough people to open their eyes and see that there's a different way, that there's another way outside of the 9 to 5 and all the things that, whatever hours that they got to go to a job, punch a clock, and do whatever they do that they hate, that there's an opportunity out there to do something they love. And you get enough people, I think there is a tipping point. I do. I think there is a point where we can change things.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, we need it. I have no idea of what it looks like or how it would happen, but it's kind of my thing where it's like I'm just head down. Okay, just focus on what you're doing, and more and more of us that are doing something right, then collectively, yeah, something will happen for sure.
I've also noticed, and I'm not sure if this is every entrepreneur, but the people that I've talked to have really big hearts and they want to help each other. So it's
Mhm.
like if I'm here and I can promote your stuff, I want to, because I want you to succeed. There's not a jealousy. There's not a, there's a synergy about really like-minded people, people that have a big heart, people that actually care and want to do something for real for other people, not just make money. You
Right.
can tell the difference,
Hmm.
in that. I have some local entrepreneurs that I've talked to that we want to create a panel to go into the schools to talk about entrepreneurship and
Oh,
the
nice.
struggles and stuff. I mean, there's junior achievement, but they kind of come once a year and they lift the kids up like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And then they leave.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I want to get it so that there's kind of like a mentor for some of the kids that really want to do it, really interested in it, spark something in them, and maybe have a local person in the community, that type of thing. That's what we're working on here locally.
That's legit.
So yeah, it's tough. I'm still working full time, so I
Yeah.
said it's not about the money. It really isn't. It's like I want to get in and help other people. I want to get in,
Totally.
like if I could, whatever I can do. That's what I want to do, because I think I believe so strongly in the entrepreneurial spirit, in the spirit of humanity, that I think there are actually really good people out there, and those people deserve to make good money to help other people.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. Love it.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, I went on a little bit too much, and usually I don't, but I'm really feeling that this time with this particular situation. So I apologize if I'm talking a little too much. So
No,
I
you're
don't
good.
usually do it.
You're good.
So what advice besides the VAs, because we went through that, and I love it, I do. Um, Advice would you give someone that's just starting out, that's just trying to forge their path?
Mm. Um, let's see. Someone that knows what they're doing, they're seeing success currently, or they just made the
No,
leap,
just making the leap. They're just
just making the
starting
leap.
something, and and maybe they have an idea what they're going to do, but maybe they don't. How do they form that? How do they get that? You know, get that idea going and stuff. And what's those first steps?
I think you need to do your market research, really have these conversations with people that would be your potential buyers and really have deep conversations with them. Ask them as many questions as you can and not predetermined questions. Maybe you have a few predetermined ones, but really build off of their answers and ask follow-up questions based off of those, because you really want to get inside their mind and see if what you're offering actually is feasible. Obviously, you'll get into price point. Everyone says give, 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 and I'm a huge believer in that. But at the same point, I think you need to ask them to pay. So whether it's the people that you're interviewing for market research, or you're a little bit past that and you're talking to potential clients, just give them a huge discount, you know, and tell them whatever, however you want to phrase it, like beta or whatever, you know, like just be transparent, be open, and be like, when I figure this out, I'm going to be selling it for XYZ, but, you know, since I'm starting out and, you know, like, trust you, that type of thing, and building together, you know, I'm willing to do it for XYZ. Now, if it's products, you know, maybe you can't discount like you could if it's services. With products, it's a little bit different, but it is a race to the bottom discounting products. I'm not a huge believer in providing like, oh, 5% off or 25% off. I'm not a huge believer in that, but yeah, it's a grind. Keep your head down and, you know, keep at it. Remember your why and surround yourself with like-minded people. Like you said, Jim, I think that's important.
I agree. There's a couple of things I took from that, and a couple of things that I'm going to add, I guess. I've actually heard that, and maybe not just starting out, but I've heard raise your prices 10%.
Oh, really? Okay. Raise them when you start.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I'm just saying because of the value, because of people perceived value. Do you know what I mean? Especially in products.
Yeah.
If you're selling a product and your product's kind of comparable to the other one that's a little higher price, some people that actually they have a lot of money, they perceive that as the best one on the market. So that's the
yeah, it's true for sure.
So it's kind of a little hack. And then you were talking about. Oh, don't let me forget this because I think I'm going to here. Hold on. I hate it when I do that. But it was the 10%, and then it was the making people buy. I think that is very important, and one of the reasons I think it is because if you give your stuff away for free, that's fine. I mean, you give enough away for free, but if it's a course or something you want someone to get a solution for a problem from, you want to charge them, because if they don't feel like they're invested into it, they may not do it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the whole mindset of like with these click funnels that we see an ad on Facebook or whatever, and then we buy something for like $1 or $7 or whatever it is. They just want you to pull out your credit card and get familiar in purchasing from them so that you can start to do larger purchases and that type of stuff. Just get that small win first, you know?
Yeah, it's a mindset when someone's starts to become your customer. It's a whole different ball game when they go from being they like you to they're a raving fan to they buy your stuff, and then it's like, well, now they're a customer. I was like, I can't wait for the next thing to come out because that was so good.
Right.
But you have to make sure what you're giving is blowing them away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. For sure.
Because it's like, wow, you know, he's given me all this content and all this good stuff and all these great things that are coming out, and then, wow, I can't imagine what his paid stuff is going to be like.
Yeah,
want to leave him with that as well.
Where'd you hear that concept from?
Shoot, I've been studying for 20 years. I think it was Internet Business Mastery, to believe it or not. Jeremy Franson and I can't remember the other guy's name. It was a podcast way back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of Pat Flynn. Have you ever heard of Pat Flynn?
Yeah.
He came out of there.
Yeah. I'm in Amy Porterfield's
she came out of there.
Academy. Yeah, no, she says that all the time about like you want to give away so much free stuff that they're like, oh man, I know their paid for stuff is going to be amazing. And that's exactly why I purchased her DCA course. And then in the course, she said that. I was like, oh yeah, it worked.
Yeah. And the thing is that's Jeremy and Jason from it's called Internet Business Mastery. If you ever get a chance to listen to that podcast, I mean, it lasted for, God, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. It was a long time. But Amy Porterfield came out of that, Pat Flynn. There's a couple other ones too that are disciples of them, and I got really good stuff.
Check it out. Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so anything else that you want to add or tell everybody or whatever?
My website's cloneyourselfu with the letter u.com. That's cloneyourselfu.com. And there's a lot of information there. I think on the website there's a section that says freebies. And from there you can get a lot of stuff that will help you as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, content creator. There's just so much. One of the freebies I have is a lead magnet template. So, as an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever, instead of just putting out like sign up for my newsletter, you want to actually give them something, right? So
Yes.
I have a pretty cool template on there where you can work with a VA pretty easily to get your lead magnet going. So
That's
that's
awesome.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
really awesome, man. Because that's difficult, because you want to capture emails to have a list so that you can start building a relationship with that list. And
Yep.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll put that down. If you send it to me, we're going to put that down. It should be down below when you're watching this. We're talking right now in the YouTube channel. It should be right below there. You just want to click on it.
Yep.
So, but this has been a very, very, I think, enlightening show because you brought out a lot of topics that we haven't talked about so far in these shows.
Cool.
So I really appreciate the virtual assistant stuff, and there's a lot of things in there that I think the listeners are really going to get a lot out of this one. I really like it.
Awesome, Jim. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and very nice to meet you. And definitely, let's keep in touch and do this again sometime.
That sounds awesome. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week, and you have a wonderful week.